Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to today's explainer, everyone. So, today we're unpacking this absolutely beautiful and honestly highly practical framework for human connection. We're exploring Pakikipagkapuwa at Pagiging Mapagmalasakit. In English, that translates to interpersonal relations and compassion. But as we're about to see, these concepts go way, way deeper than just the simple idea of being nice. We're going on a structured journey into the profound psychology of empathy, human dignity, and actionable community support. Because empathy isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's actually a structured social contract. Let's get started. Help or not? Let's play a little mental game. I want you to imagine stepping out of your front door right now, and suddenly, someone right in front of you, maybe it's a neighbor you recognize, or maybe a total stranger, desperately needs your help. Like, right this second. What's the very first thing you do? Do you freeze up? Do you rush in blindly with good intentions but absolutely no plan? Or do you immediately pull out your phone to hit record? This sudden dilemma activates our empathy right out of the gate, for sure, but it also brings up a critical real-world challenge. Having the raw desire to help is great, but knowing exactly how to respond properly, well, that's an entirely different skill. To really ground the theory in reality, let's picture three everyday dilemmas. Scenario 1. You're walking down the street and you see an elderly person struggling. Their hands completely full, just trying to carry impossibly heavy groceries. Okay, Scenario 2. Think about a quiet classmate or a colleague who always sits in the back. They look like they're carrying this massive, heavy emotional burden in total silence. And Scenario 3. A neighbor frantically asking for help cleaning up after a really devastating flood. Now, these aren't just rare hypotheticals, right? These are everyday crossroads that you will inevitably encounter. And to make the right choice in any of them, we've got to understand the underlying social principles driving our actions. And that brings us to our very first foundational concept, Pakikipagkapuwa. This is basically defined as treating others in an orderly and humane way. But the philosophy here is super specific and profound. It acknowledges that we absolutely do not exist in a vacuum. Because we are inherently wired as social beings, we fundamentally require connection, respect, and active listening just to survive and thrive. Pakikipagkapuwa is this deep, almost spiritual recognition that your well-being is permanently tied to the well-being of the people around you. You treat the other person as a fellow human being because, at a core level, their humanity directly reflects your own. Now, closely tied to that shared humanity is the concept of malasakit. This goes a step further than just feeling connected. Malasakit is about showing sympathy and actively stepping up to help others. But, and here is the crucial catch, you have to do it in the right and appropriate way. True compassion isn't just about the act of helping to make yourself feel good, like some sort of savior. It's about executing that help so it genuinely benefits the receiver on their terms. It requires real humility. Because honestly, sometimes well-intentioned but chaotic help can actually do far more harm than good. So, the crucial point is exactly why sensitivity is so incredibly important here. Being sensitive to needs means actually seeing and understanding the situation of others before you take action. Sensitivity is basically the mandatory bridge between feeling empathy and actually doing something useful about it. You have to take a moment to understand a person's dignity, their specific context, and what they actually need before you rush in to save the day. It's really about decentering yourself. It's pausing to ask, hey, am I doing this for them, or am I doing this just to make myself feel useful? Now, what's really interesting about this slide is seeing what true compassion looks like versus actions that just completely miss the mark. An appropriate response respects human dignity at its absolute core. It looks like sitting down and carefully listening to a distressed friend without interrupting, or maybe safely assisting an elder across a busy street. But an inappropriate response, imagine taking a photo of an injured person and posting it online instead of actually helping them. Exploiting a vulnerable, painful moment for TikTok views, likes, or internet clout, that is the exact opposite of malasakit. It's main character syndrome at its worst. And it's a pretty stark reminder of how our modern technology and obsession with being seen can sometimes override basic fundamental human decency. To avoid those inappropriate clout-chasing responses, we can use a highly actionable 4-step community help plan. When a crisis hits, like that flooded neighbor we mentioned earlier, you can use this framework to stay grounded. First up, who needs help? Identify them clearly and specifically. Second, what do they actually need? You've got to ask them directly, do not just assume. Third, what can the group realistically do? Assess your resources without overpromising. And fourth, literally the most important step, how can we ensure the help is safe, respectful, and meaningful? Breaking the crisis down logically like this ensures that panic doesn't take over, and you preserve the dignity of everyone involved. Empathy also adapts to its environment. Let's move to and see how this builds across the different, distinct spheres of your life. At home, empathy might look like spontaneously taking over chores for a tired parent without having to be asked. In class, it might be actively making space in a conversation for a peer who is just a little too shy to speak up. At work, it's noticing a struggling colleague and quietly offering a hand before they miss a big deadline. And in the wider community, or barangay, it scales up heavily. We're talking about participating in local cleanups, or knowing exactly when to step back and call on official duty bearers to handle those much larger systemic issues. Speaking of those duty bearers, what happens when the need is a sudden medical emergency? Well, there are highly specific, practical guidelines for responding without causing further physical harm. If someone is injured, true malasakit means strictly following these rules. First, call a health worker or professional immediately. Provide clean water, but only if it's safe to do it. Guide the person to a secure area, away from danger. Keep yourself incredibly calm so they don't spiral into a panic. And crucially, no way around this one, do not spread false information or rumors in group chats. Panic is contagious, right? Sometimes the absolute most compassionate thing you can do is simply secure the scene, stay quiet, and let the professionals take over. We've covered a lot of ground today, unpacking the deep social responsibilities we have to one another. Now it's time to actually internalize the lesson. I want to challenge you to formulate your own personal steps of compassion. Think of 3 actionable things you can do today to show genuine empathy. Think heavily about your personal context and your current routine. Maybe you have a stressed coworker sitting one desk over, a tired partner at home, or a neighborhood initiative you've been putting off all year. What are 3 concrete, real-world steps you can take today to actively practice Pakikipagkapuwa? To wrap up our explainer today, I want to leave you with one final provocative challenge. Commit to just one act of true, selfless compassion this week. Ask yourself, who will you help? What exactly will you do for them, keeping their dignity perfectly intact? And most importantly, afterward, reflect on what that interaction taught you about your community and yourself. Because true learning, it doesn't happen while staring at a screen. It happens out there, in the messy, beautiful, real world, when we truly connect with each other. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you take these concepts of interpersonal relations and compassion and put them to incredible use. See you next time.